Baby Skylar span decades. The newborn found dead in a Sky Harbor bathroom. It's a case that rocked the valley, going cold for years until recently. This is Arizona Crime Uncovered. I'm Ashley Holden. Police earlier this year announcing the arrest of a woman from Washington State. We're taking a look at how police tracked her down, where she's been for close to 2 decades, and how her case here in Arizona is playing out. We sat down with a former Phoenix police cold case homicide detective who pushed for justice in this case for years. I know the valley has changed so much, but what was Sky Harbor like in 2005?
Sky Harbor was busy. I mean, it's been growing by leaps and bounds every year, but a very busy airport.
But on October 10th, 2005, Terminal 4 would turn into a crime scene. Former Phoenix Police cold case homicide detective Troy Hillman remembers reviewing the Baby Skylar case. What did you think reading through everything for the first time?
Shock and awe that somebody would murder this helpless baby that had just been born into the world.
There were some things that happened the day Baby Skylar was found that led to that baby's discovery.
Yeah, there was I believe it was a gentleman in the airport that was missing his laptop. And he went to the airport staff and said, hey, I need help finding my laptop. The janitorial staff kind of were deployed, and they went inside of one of the restrooms. It was the women's restroom, Terminal 4. And that's when the housekeeper basically pulled the trash can and the bag and thought it was, well, this is really heavy. And then when she explored, there was another hotel, a white bag, and then she opened that out and found a deceased newborn. And the fact that a laptop, a gentleman saying, hey, I'm missing my laptop, kind of set this all in motion. It was almost a divine intervention.
What we have here appears to be a full-term female fetus that has been found in one of the restrooms here, the women's restroom behind us. The scene does not seem to indicate at this time anyway that the birth occurred here.
Police are hopeful surveillance cameras, which are placed in undisclosed areas, will help put a face to whoever left a dead baby inside a restroom trash can.
The valley rallying around the newborn, holding a funeral.
Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
A Phoenix detective even giving her a name.
I thought it was an appropriate name, a beautiful name for a beautiful girl.
They could just take one moment and just give them to anybody.
When Troy and his team took over the case, 10 years had passed with no answers.
Surprisingly, where the baby was left, there weren't a lot of cameras, or they weren't able to give us any footage that would help us determine who was coming in and out of that restroom during that time frame.
In 2015, what did your team do to kind of not only probably backtrack through what the investigation had done originally, but then move it forward?
So we had successfully used genealogy on the Canal murders, the zombie hunter case, but that was limited to the male DNA line. So we could not use it on Baby Skylar's case. So we went to a company called Parabon, and what they were able to do is do phenotyping. They would look at the DNA sequence of the baby and the mother, and basically tell what the mother would have looked like at age 25. And it was pretty neat. They described, slight freckling, fair skin, probably blonde, slightly red hair. And they gave actually a composite photo of what they generated by a computer of what the mother would have looked like. So our goal then was to push that out to the media widespread, because we believed that the mother suspect boarded a plane at Sky Harbor and then flew to one of the states internationally, possibly.
You guys went back and looked at hotels because this person was clearly in town and had used a bag from a hotel.
This particular hotel chain, there were 3 hotel chains in the valley that used this particular bag, and there was a towel that was used to wrap the baby, and there were 3 particular hotel locations that used that particular towel. So officers and detectives went back and looked at those hotels and really tried to figure out who was there, if anybody saw anything, and really extensive canvass. And there were some oddities that happened that kind of took the investigation down different paths, but nothing substantially developed.
It would take 7 years before there was a break in the case, which would end nearly 2 decades after baby Skylar was found with an arrest.
I always said we never give up, that we would eventually track down the mother.
An almost 20-year-old cold case solved.
This collaborative work directly resulted in the identification of the mother and suspect in this case.
In February of this year, police announcing a major break in the case. Investigative genetic genealogy helping the Phoenix police and the FBI track down 51-year-old Annie Anderson.
Detective Cervantes and Special Agent Kraus spent countless hours working the case and ultimately identified a suspect, Annie Anderson of Washington State. When confronted, Annie Anderson identified herself as the mother of the victim and provided an account of what occurred. Annie Anderson was arrested for the homicide of baby Skylar and is currently in Washington State awaiting extradition to Arizona.
Through the genealogy, we identified someone in the family tree. That person consented to the sample and led the investigation further to Miss Anderson.
Do you have any reason to believe that the suspect had ties to Phoenix? Were they just passing through Sky Harbor, catching a flight? Do you know?
Yes. The suspect was here on business. It was a real estate boot camp.
What did it feel like to hear that someone had finally been arrested for that?
It was amazing. Again, there were no family members to really support baby Skylar, but we felt like we had helped, so it was a great day to give that baby justice.
ABC15 reached out to Anderson's Washington attorney, who told us her client would be responding to the allegations in court and through the proper legal process. But it would be months until Anderson arrived in Arizona.
We know Anderson was arrested in December. What do we know about her extradition?
So the county prosecutor's staff in Washington, they actually told me that she is fighting this process. I reached out to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, and they have told me that they have sent the extradition paperwork to Governor Katie Hobbs. As the extradition process played out, ABC15 eventually obtaining the first pictures of Anderson and learning more about the woman arrested for first-degree murder. As for where she had been for decades, loved ones told us she had lived for many years in the Northwest, even having kids and grandchildren. In the days after the news broke, neighbors reacting.
Hurt a little baby? No, that's just not right.
ABC15's Eleni Dow talking to people that knew Anderson.
Police also confirmed they investigated Anderson in Arlington, Washington for a possible burglary of Kelly Severson and Hans Angelin's art gallery in 2022. The two giving us surveillance video believing it's Anderson. They say they met Anderson before the alleged burglary as they offered and paid her ahead of time to help them make a website, but never did. Documents show she also changed her name from Leanne Stenberg to Annie Anderson in 2019.
Arlington police telling ABC15 Anderson was not charged in the burglary due to lack of evidence.
Your Honor, this is a fugitive matter dealing with Maricopa County out of Arizona.
As Anderson fought her extradition, she appeared in court in Washington multiple times.
Go talk to my mom real quick.
And body camera footage of her arrest was released, showing Anderson talking to the arresting officers, her mom, and even making a call.
So you have a warrant out of Maricopa County, Arizona for homicide. Okay.
Yeah, that's not true, but okay.
Well, you do. They've asked us to
I know. I know.
Are you?
I am.
Can you get some shoes for your daughter?
What's going on?
She has a warrant for her arrest out of Arizona.
What?
Yeah, for a homicide.
How many more people are going to show up? I'm one small person.
Well, we work for a task force and work on a team, so it makes things a lot easier for us. All right, go ahead and hop on in.
What does she have on her feet currently?
I don't know.
She asked for shoes.
She just asked for shoes. You can come out here.
You can come out and talk to her. Drop that hand down there.
Can I talk to him for just a sec?
You can put him on speakerphone if you need. Is that your attorney or is that your?
He's going to call my attorney.
He's going to call your attorney.
Yeah.
Okay. You ready for the next one? So lift your arms up there.
As much as they go. Can you just hold it up to my ear?
Or just hold it up to her ear.
Can you
yeah.
just hold it up to my
Get about
ear?
30 seconds, okay? You're going to get phone calls at the jail.
Hello? Hey, you know what's happening, right? Okay, I need you to handle it, okay? I need you to do everything in your power to figure this out. Wallet is on my desk downstairs if you need it. Okay, I'm going to give you back to Mom. You can talk to her some more. I have to get in the car now.
One of the hinge is mine.
Yes, please, 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 please. Okay, thank you. What about your... I'm going to try everything I can here to just, remain calm.
Did you know this was coming?
In a roundabout sort of way. Okay. I've been talking to them.
We're kind of dealing with it, right?
But they, I hadn't heard anything. We've been trying to work out some details and some things, and
you're good. Just transfer your money.
I'm really quite irritated though that this is happening today.
Yeah, they called us 2 hours, an hour ago, hour and a half ago.
I mean, after Christmas would have been so much nicer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Eventually, a governor's warrant signed, and after months of waiting, Anderson flown here to Arizona, marking a new phase in the case.
ABC15 tracking some developing stories at this hour, including the mother accused in the death of baby Skylar just arriving in the valley. Annie Anderson extradited from Washington State after she was arrested there in December. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Office confirming Anderson is now back in town and being booked into jail.
Time the court calls number 32 on the calendar, Annie Anderson.
In April, Anderson hearing the charges she was facing at her first court appearance here in Arizona.
1 count of murder in the first degree, which is a Class 1 felony. 1 count of child abuse, which is a Class 2 felony. And 1 count of abandonment or concealment of a dead body, which is a Class 5 felony.
Days later, at her arraignment, pleading not guilty. Her arrival in the valley meant the release of new court documents detailing what the 51-year-old allegedly told police. Police say they tracked Anderson down in 2022, and that's when Anderson allegedly told police she gave birth in her hotel bathtub, claiming the baby was stillborn. Police say that's inconsistent with evidence and information from the medical examiner. Court documents also say Anderson admitted to taking the baby to Sky Harbor in a backpack and knowing she couldn't go through security, putting the baby in a bathroom trash bin. To watch this all play out now and to have now the suspect, Annie Anderson, extradited back here, did you see any of that? Have you been watching the case kind of play out?
I've been following it since I've been retired, and it's amazing, and it's in really good hands with the detectives at Phoenix PD. And the prosecutors. So I think the baby will get justice eventually, and I pray for that.
But with the arrest, the battle now moving to the courtroom. New court records filed by county prosecutors say the baby's dad allegedly told investigators Anderson had to be rushed to the hospital with their son in 2004, claiming to not know she was pregnant then. The baby's father saying he didn't know Anderson was pregnant with baby Skylar. That document also says Anderson was having relationship and financial issues and had multiple children to care for. Those records also allege Anderson was aware of safe haven laws.
The state of Arizona versus Annie Anderson.
ABC15 obtaining footage from September when Annie Anderson and her legal team fought to have her $1 million bond reduced.
She's willing, if she has a passport, to surrender it to the court. I don't think that there's any indications, given her lack of criminal history or involvement with the law enforcement or the criminal justice system, that she has any intent to flee anywhere.
The state's concern here is the defendants coming back to court. We are asking that this bond remain in place because the gravity of this offense and the sentence it carries with it is strong incentive for somebody who hid this crime for 18 years and has never lived in Arizona to not come back to the state if she's released.
During those oral arguments, both prosecutors and Anderson's attorneys talking about evidence in the case.
There's just a lot of things that have gone on since the original investigation in 2005. The biggest one being that there was a reevaluation of the original medical examiner's report done, and then the cause of death and the matter of death was changed in that report. Additionally, that report, from what I can discern from reading the police reports, didn't seem to be like what the Phoenix police wanted to see or hear, and then they decided to go to Child Help and say, hey, let's talk to this nurse and see what she has to say about this. And of course, what she had to say was in disagreement with what the new evaluation necessarily said. The state's claim also, excuse me if I misunderstood as to the counts 1 and 2, that she fully confessed to the crimes charged. In all the discovery I have, I don't have a confession to something that results in a murder. According to the statements made by Miss Anderson, there's no confession to counts 1 and 2.
So really our dispute with their recitation of the facts comes down to Miss Anderson's assertion that baby Skylar was stillborn. Re-reviews are done commonly, if practicable, with the medical examiner's office, and this was an old case. We wanted to see if the findings from 2005 were supported by the findings currently at the time this re-review was done. And they were, contrary to what the defense would suggest in the recitation of facts. So we are not hiding from that. More importantly and secondly, the defense goes on to write, the ultimate opinion in that review was that the decedent died as a result of asphyxia, likely during or after birth. That is sort of the crux of what this case is going to come down to at trial, was the child born alive? And pursuant to the review of Dr. Mosley and Dr. Hirsch, they both support the proposition that the child was born alive.
Prosecutors pushing back, detailing other doctors who have weighed in on the case.
I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to hash all that out. We haven't been able to interview these witnesses yet. We don't have all the information we need, and I think what I've shared regarding the weight of the evidence and how these semantics are going to be very important. I do agree they're the crux of the case.
Ultimately, the judge deciding to lower the bond to $200,000. If released, the court requiring Anderson stay in the state.
Having the opportunity to review all of those factors and consider those issues, with the state has conceded as well that she doesn't necessarily pose a danger to the community, which often is weighted higher than some of the other matters, and understand as well that in considering these factors, some factors have greater weight than the others do. And so I am going to be modifying the bond. The bond will be set at a $200,000 secured appearance bond, given the nature of the offenses, the seriousness of the offenses, and weighing all of the other factors as well. The remainder of the release order will remain the same, in the sense that if in fact bond is posted, that electronic monitoring will be installed prior to release, and the remainder of the contact and other provisions that were previously stated will remain as well.
At the time of airing, Anderson is still in custody. We did reach out to her attorney for comment, but didn't hear back. Maricopa County Superior Court staff confirm her next court date is December 5th. Anderson's trial was originally set for next month, but it's been since moved to February. We'll be watching this case closely and following all the developments here on Arizona Crime Uncovered. Thank you for watching Arizona Crime Uncovered. We're working to bring awareness to crimes where victims are still awaiting justice and also provide an in-depth look at cases still unfolding. Each episode breaks down a timeline of the case, where it stands now, and if any help is needed from the community. You can watch on ABC15.com, the ABC15 mobile app, Roku, YouTube, or any of your other streaming platforms.